Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to Silverstone as we are just awaiting the start of the 10th race, or the 10th race of the International GT Open season here at Silverstone. It has been a superb weekend so far as we head towards the business end of the season in terms of deciding the championship. And after the summer break has come to a close, we've got a little bit of a reprieve of the sunny weather here at Silverstone as you join myself, Ben Evans, on an absolutely beautiful early September afternoon. We should be in for another very entertaining race. 25 cars taking to the track for qualifying this morning, and it is a home pole position for Tom Onslow-Cole in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, who was able to claim pole position ahead of Alam Kader by just over 0.3 of a second. However, in terms of the championship, today's race really could be one to watch for, because Mikael Mack, the championship leader, has only qualified down in 19th position. Mack coming into today's race with a 6-point lead in the championship over the Teo Martin Motorsport pairing of Andres Saravia and Fran Rueda, who line up in 7th place. The other championship contenders, yesterday's runners-up, Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull, they start from 3rd on the grid. Well, race 1 of the weekend was claimed by another of the Luzic Racing Ferraris, and that was Marco Ciocci and Daniel Serra. They line up in 11th position. This, though, is the car that has claimed pole, Tom Onslow-Cole. He and Valentin Pierberg having a disappointing day yesterday, although Onslow-Cole did set the fastest lap after Pierberg was tagged early on, picked up a little bit of damage to the bodywork, and that forced him into the pits. And then when they rejoined, they were some way down the order. Glimpse there of the grey and blue Optima Motorsport Audi of Bradley Ellis and Ollie Wilkinson. They were the Pro-Am class winners in yesterday's race, although Wilkinson having a tougher time of it in qualifying this morning en route to lining up 21st on the grid. The swoops of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit always seem to lend themselves well to racing in the International GT Open. Quite a few overtaking opportunities around the track, and chance to dice wheel to wheel. Alexei Chuklin in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, the AM class entry, and Alexei making his debut in the championship this weekend. We'll start from 23rd. At the front of the field, it was a very, very close battle through qualifying. Onslow-Cole eventually taking the pole position from the Driving Mercedes of Alam Kader, with Jerome Mull, the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan, in 3rd, ahead of the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan of Pro-Am Championship leader Fabrizio Crestani to start 4th. The team Parker Racing Bentley of Callum McLeod then lay up in 5th. That's the brief glimpse of the Jerome Mull Lamborghini Huracan that he shares with Giovanni Venturini. They finished 2nd yesterday, only sub 0.4 of a second back from Marco Ciocci at the line. It is Ciocci who rolls down the pit lane now. The pit lane is open for 5 minutes for the sighting laps. There's no imperative for them to rush out as soon as the pit lane opens. Now Ciocci can accelerate on his way, a chance to get a little bit of heat into the Michelin target they all run on in the International GT Open, and cut his way through the heat haze. Just up the slight climb into Maggots and Beckett's before Ciocci can get the power down and accelerate out of Chapel Curve onto the Hangar Straight. Just a chance to move up through the gears, make sure that everything is working as it should do. So he turns towards Stowe Corner, but it's going to be a busy afternoon for Ciocci. from 11th on the grid, plus he has got success seconds from yesterday's triumph to overcome as well, because it's a 60-minute race. There is, of course, the mandatory pit stop that happens between the 24th and 36th minutes, and that means that in reality there's about a 5 to 6 lap interchange window where the element of strategy can start to come to the fore. So the pit lane closed as Shochi winds his way towards the grid, which is filling up and is absolutely crowded with the teams, drivers, VIPs, enjoying the atmosphere on the grid ahead of the 10th race of the International GT Open season. There is our pole sitter, Tom Onslow-Cole. Glimpse into the cockpit. And this is how it unfolded in qualifying. He was on the pace, really, from the second that the session went live, but saved his best lap until late on, taking advantage of some clear air to put in a time of a 1 minute 58.327. Good enough for pole position by 0.3 of a second.
Tom Onslow-Cole, home race and pole position. That's wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic result to get this at my home event. So really pleased. We've got lots of friends and family and sponsors here today. So fantastic result to start the day, you know.
So a happy pole sitter. He shares the front row with another of the Mercedes, and that is the Drivex car of Alain Cadet. Cadet, alongside Marcello Hahn, scoring a fantastic victory in the second race at the Hungaroring back in July. Taking advantage of a great qualifying performance on that occasion from Cadet. And then Hahn being able to defend well late on. The siren going just to begin to clear the grid. Just a couple of minutes away from the green flag lap. So that means final checks made by the SPS Automotive team, making sure all is as it should be for Onslow-Cole. Waiting for the signal to get the car fired up and underway. Second on the grid then for the Drovex Mercedes of Alain Cadet and Marcello Hahn. Cadet in the cockpit, getting ready for the off. Third for Jerome Mull and Giovanni Venturini. They have finished second on 4 occasions this season. Will they be able to claim victory today? And then fourth for the 2016 champion Fabrizio Crestani, partnering the 2015 champion Miguel Ramos. Crestani and Ramos, they're yet to claim a Pro-Am class victory this campaign. New to the championship this weekend for the Team Parker Racing Bentley, Callum McLeod alongside Ian Loggy, and McLeod pushing very, very hard through qualifying to take a fine 5th. Riccardo Agostini and Rick Broik has been right on it in the second of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis this weekend, and they are in pursuit of another podium. Should be their 4th trip to Rossmann of the season. For Andres Saravia and Fran Rueda, this afternoon represents a golden opportunity to eat into the 6-point advantage held by Michael Mack at the top of the championship. Saravia and Rueda in good spirits through the weekend. Meanwhile, 8th on the grid and the AM class pole position for the very rapid Darren Burke alongside Miro Konopka in the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini Huracan. Another driver who's going to be talking this weekend is Alex Frasinetti in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini Huracan that he shares with Damiano Fioravanti. Frasinetti should progress from 9th, and the same certainly goes for David Perel from 10th on the grid, who drove brilliantly yesterday, was on the cusp of a Pro-Am class win. And the field so tightly bunched in qualifying, the top 19 cars separated by just 1.5 seconds. This is how it unfolded yesterday, with Daniel Serra leading the way into Copse for the first time. This front road was being pressurised from all angles by Imperial Racing Lamborghini Huracans. Meanwhile, the fight for the AM class honours was absolutely thrilling between Giulio Borlenghi, Martin Conrad and Darren Burke. It's Daniele Diamato and Andrea Montermini, also great value in the RS Racing Ferrari. Giuseppe Cipriani was a slightly more tried day. That spin forcing Alain Cadet onto the anchors late on. Fortunately, no contact. So at the line, it was just Marco Ciocci and Daniel Serra taking their second victory of the season. Ahead of Venturini and Mol, with Saravia and Rueda completing the podium. So the cars on to their formation lap. It's a rolling start, of course, into the cars then on the formation lap ahead of the 10th race of the International GT Open season, getting ready for the rolling start. It's Tom Onslow Cole who will start from pole in the Silverstone Sunshine as we have a look at how they line up in full. It's an all-Mercedes front row of Onslow Cole and Alain Cadet, Jerome Mol and Fabrizio Crestani, and all Lamborghini row 2. The third row, Callum McLeod and Riccardo Agostini, two very quick drivers. Andres Saravia and Darren Burke will look to progress from row 4, as certainly will Alex Frasinetti and David Perel from row 5. The 6th row of the grid, yesterday's race winner Marco Ciocci alongside Caco Bueno. Row 7, Martin Conrad, second of the AM qualifiers alongside Michele Rugolo. Juan Cruz Alvarez and Daniele Diamato, a very competitive 8th row of the grid. And the same for row 9, Tullio Liberati and Alberto Di Folco, the Vincenzo Suspiri and Target Lamborghinis. Championship leader Mikael Mack in the Luzic Ferrari starting from 19th, and he shares row 10 with Giulio Borlenghi. Yesterday's Pro-Am winner Ollie Wilkinson 21st, alongside Giotong Liang, who was also on the Pro-Am rostrum, with then Alexei Chuklin and Giuseppe Cipriani on row 12, and Steve Parrow in the second of the Rinaldi Racing Ferraris to complete the field. 60 minutes of racing ahead. Mandatory pit stop between the 24th and 36th minute, and the 3-mile Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for the drivers to play with as they accelerate towards Abbey now. Then swooping through the Abbey Farm complex that was added to the circuit about 8 years ago, producing the extra overtaking opportunity really into a heavy braking zone at Village, and again the loop. Yesterday we saw plenty of action through this section of the track, fortunately without too much in the way of contact or damage. Let's hope that that continues again this afternoon as the cars turn out of the loop on to the Wellington Straight. So many dimensions in the championship to watch for Mikael Mack. What can he do from 19th on the grid? It's been a difficult weekend, despite the victory yesterday for Ciocci and Serra for the Ferraris. They feel they've been having to work at it a little bit to just get to the sweet spot of the car. The Imperial Racing Lamborghini team, so many podiums this year, will today be their first victory of the season. All eyes to the monitors in the pit boxes as the car of Tom Onslow Cole paces the field around the Luffield hairpin. And Tim Pierberg, on the right of your picture, watching the SPS Automotive Garage as Onslow Cole now has the responsibility of leading the field through Woodcote. We're about to go racing for the 10th time this year in the International GT Open. Looking for the lights to change on the gantry, which they do now, and away we go. And it's a brilliant start from Onslow Cole, who leads the cavalry charge towards Copse for the first time. And the first few cars all through cleanly. Crestani goes up to third around Jerome Mull. Also a good start as well from Callum McLeod, who's in the mix wheel to wheel with Riccardo Agostini, forcing Agostini just offline into Beckett's. Nothing in the way of dramas as Ciocci barges Darren Burke aside. Caco Bueno and David Perel part of that scrap as well. But it's Onslow Cole who heads the pack as they head down the Hanger Straight for the first time. We're in car with Marco Ciocci. And he has got Alex Frasinetti and Andres Saravia just ahead of him. And Already Onslow Cole trying to break away from Alam Kader with in third place Crestani, fourth Jerome Moll, fifth Colin McLeod. Then it's Riccardo Agostini, David Perel to the inside of Darren Burke into the Vale. Cacabueno looking to do the same, possibly tagged Burke then, as Mikael Mack making good progress as he moves ahead of Michele Rugolo. So it's been a good first few corners for Mikael Mack. We'll see quite how much ground he's gained as Daniele Di Amato, the big loser on the first lap, he has been shuffled down to about 18th or 19th place on the brakes into Village for the first time. Saravia in pursuit of Agostini, as behind Frasinetti under pressure from Marco Ciocci. Field accelerating through. David Perel completing the top 10 then. Now whereabouts is Mikael Mack? He's up to 14th. Saravia having a little bit of a look to the inside of Riccardo Agostini, but we saw this yesterday that it took a couple of laps for the Imperiale Lamborghinis to hit their stride, but once they did, they had a remarkably consistent pace throughout the duration of each stint. So the first lap of the race reeled off. The 2 minutes 2 from Onslow Cole from the rolling start. Very, very impressive going from Tom. Sully Wilkinson looking to overhaul Edoardo Liberati in the battle for 19th and 20th. Onslow Cole already beginning to build a little bit of a buffer over Alam Kader. 1.7 seconds at the line. Maybe possibly a little bit more than that by the time they arrive towards Stowe. Meanwhile, Mikael Mack already looking to try and line up a move on Juan Cruz Alvarez. A little bit of dust being kicked up in the background as well as they head on to the Hangar Straight. Alvarez also looking to pressurise Cacabueno. Bueno just moves the Mercedes to the inside of the track, but that brings Mikael Mack into the fight as well. So Juan Cruz Alvarez trying to line the inside move into Vale. We'll see if he can pull it off. Yes, he can. So that's one place gained. And now Mikael Mack also seeing if he can sneak past into Club. This is... oh, a huge spin for Jiatong Liang at the top of the Hangar Straight. And has he come into contact with anything? We'll find out. Meanwhile, the front of the field already down the Wellington Straight once more. There is Callum McLeod, Team Park Racing Bentley in 5th position, trying to line up a move on Jerome Mull. At the moment, can't do an awful lot. He's just a couple of tenths of a second too far adrift, but all the while, for Onslow Cole, he is able to streak clear. A 2 minutes point 7 for Onslow Cole. And Ian Valentin Pierberg, of course, got no success seconds to worry about today. There's Ian Loggy, who'll take over from Callum McLeod mid-race in the Pro-Am class. 2.9 seconds, the advantage for Onslow Cole over this fight for second between Alam Kader, Fabrizio Crestani, Jerome Mull and Callum McLeod. Then a slight gap in the traffic back to Riccardo Agostini, Andres Saravia, Alex Frasinetti and the rest. We're in car with Marco Ciocci, who pursues Frasinetti. A little bit of dust again kicked up. Ciocci's not going to be able to propel himself past the Lamborghini Huracan on this occasion. It's the front of the field already exits Stowe, run in through the Vale. Fabrizio Crestani just 7/10ths back from Alam Kader, but really able to quite close that gap down just at the moment. Confirmation there of that fastest lap from Onslow Cole. It's running out a little bit wide there. Andres Saravia on the exit of Club. To be expected in these frantic early stages. And there's possibly a suggestion that that spin for Jiatong Liang may have possibly been precipitated by the Optima Motorsport Audi of Ollie Wilkinson. Don't know much more than that, other than that Wilkinson's team manager has been summoned to race control with immediate effect. His headlights ablaze from Fabrizio Crestani in pursuit of Alam Kader in the fight for second position as we come towards the end of the third lap. And the race settling down relatively rapidly. The drivers just looking to get into the rhythm, getting into their stride. Still a lot of racing to go, and the big challenge, talking to the drivers, is just making sure that they can get good performance from the tyre all the way through the course of the race. It's just to do with the nature of the Silverstone circuit. It just accelerates the tyre wear, and they were finding 30, 40 minutes, the same as the tyres yesterday. They were just having to manage the Michelin rubber, making sure that they were getting what they needed from it all the way through the stint. And Onslow Cole, another fastest lap of the race, so he continues to further extend his advantage, try and break up the field, because what he'd like to do really is give Valentin Pierberg a bit of a buffer to inherit for the second half of the race. Meanwhile, this is Daniele Diamato and Alberto Di Folco, and Diamato just to the inside of the target racing car. So Diamato up into 16th place. So the field filter through Vale into Club. And Cruz Alvarez pursuing Darren Burke. He's got Mikael Mack still behind him as well. Alam Kader in second place. So it is, with the exception of Jerome Moll, all really Pro-Am combinations inside the top 5. It will be the strength and consistency of the Pro combinations that may well come through in the second half of the race. Sondra Saravia continues to try and fend off Marco Ciocci. Now this is potentially a significant battle in terms of the championship, because Ciocci, his teammate, championship leader Mikael Mack, would rather like to get ahead of Saravia and just slow his charge down a little bit. But at the moment, nothing doing for the Italian. So he just bumps across the curbs into Luffield around the right-hander, gets on the power as early as he dares, as already the race leaders thundering on towards Copse Corner. Pinpoint precision required for the right-hander, really quick turn. And Ciocci being hurried along as well by David Perel. He's there in 9th position in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. The Luzic Racing team will watch from the pit wall as the Ferraris pursue the BMW, which has just slipped a little bit adrift of Riccardo Agostini in 6th. Oh, and Ciocci running a little bit wide through Chapel Curve. Now, is that going to be an opening? Maybe for David Perel. Didn't appear as if Ciocci lifted his right foot whatsoever. But he's covering the inside of the track down towards Stowe, and Perel able to take advantage and darts past on the way into Stowe Corner. And that's the challenge at the sharp end of this championship, is the margins are so fine that a small error like that from Ciocci, it's only cost him a couple of tenths of a second, has also cost him a place. It releases Perel now to set off in pursuit of Andres Saravia. Well, Alex Frasinetti in 10th has still got Darren Burke, the AM class leader, just behind him. As Frasinetti kicks up the dust on the way through Abbey, again en route to farm. The Umbra Lamborghini squad, they've had just one podium this season. That came in race 1 in Paul Ricard. On the cusp of the podium yesterday, Alex Frasinetti, and Damiano Fioravanti wasn't quite to be. Potentially could swing into their favour this afternoon. Again, no success seconds for them in the pits to contend with. Another look at that move from David Perel, beautifully executed, and firm but fair racing as well from Marco Ciocci. Didn't unduly shut the door. This is how it felt for Ciocci. Knew that Perel was coming past because he's right alongside him, avoids the contact. The Luzic Racing team, they know there's a lot of racing to go as Onslow Cole sets another fastest lap of the race. This fight for second, it's never quite crackled into life yet. About 8 tenths of a second between that group of cars. Fighting behind, looking possibly a little bit more intense. as Mikel Mack is still hovering in the pursuit of Juan Cruz Alvarez. We're back in car with Marco Ciocci. It's Alex Frasinetti who is in pursuit, but judging by the positioning of Ciocci as he heads down the hangar straight, suggests that Frasinetti not really quite close enough to challenge. No, he's not from that wider camera angle. Callum McLeod navigates the Bentley through Vale and Club. In car with McLeod. Very, very versatile driver, Callum McLeod. Started out as an arch rival to Nick Tandy in the British Formula Ford Championship, going back a bit more than a decade or so ago. He's also a very adept historic racer as well, McLeod, alongside contemporary machinery. Out of the loop then, through Aintree on to the Wellington Straight. The Bentley just dropping a little bit from this battle, but Onslow Cole has built a 7.2 second buffer at the front of the field over Alam Kader, and that is pretty meaningful going, you have to say, in the first 12 minutes. The SPS Automotive team, they have had a couple of Pro-Am class victories this year. Outright race podium, of course, as well in Hungary, but not an outright race victory. Indeed, 4 victories in the Pro-Am class this year for Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg. But will they be able to make it the outright race win? This is certainly a golden opportunity to do just that. Meanwhile, David Perel has found a way past Andres Saravia, so Perel, once more, a thunderous charge up through the field from the South African, who has been superb, really, all season in the International GT Open. That pole position at Spa-Francorchamps, great performance, but yesterday's charge through the field, and now the ground he's made in the early stages as well this afternoon, but he's got a deficit of 3.5 seconds to Riccardo Agostini. So in terms of time, that is a slightly sterner exam question than he's previously faced. He's got clear air to play with, so we'll see what he can do with the opportunity to get the power down. It means that Saravia slips back to 8th place. He's still got Ciocci behind him, and then Frasinetti has invited himself to that party as well. The bright yellow car in the background is Darren Burt, the AM class leader. We approach 1/4 race distance. Tom Onslow Cole, the race leader from Alam Kader. Then Fabrizio Crostani, Jerome Mull, there he is in the green Imperiale Lamborghini in 4th, ahead of Callum McLeod in 5th, Riccardo Agostini 6th, from David Perel 7th, Andres Saravia in 8th, Marco Ciocci 9th, and Alex Frasinetti completing the top 10. It's Riccardo Agostini who has just elevated his pace a little bit. Personal best lap of the race last time around, as he inches ever closer to Callum McLeod. Got a track limit warning flag for Jiatong Liang. Turns 1 and turn 7, so that's Copse and Stowe. As we return to the race leader, Tom Onslow Cole. And Onslow Cole is the only driver who's got beneath the 2-minute 1 second barrier in this race, and he's done it on pretty much every single lap. His lead now out to 8.3 seconds. And that is a fairly substantial buffer for Onslow Cole to have built up. There are no success seconds for them either, as a 10-second time penalty to Ollie Wilkinson for causing a collision. So that was the investigation of the incident with Jiatong Liang, and clearly Wilkinson has been deemed guilty of having caused that collision. He's currently in 20th position as well, so fairly long afternoon prospect. Meanwhile, Marco Ciocci has found a way past Andres Saravia, so Ciocci goes through into 8th. Saravia slips down into 9th. There is Mikel Mack, championship rival of Andres Saravia. Now, in terms of time differential, there is not a lot between them, and the worry here for Andres Saravia, you can actually see the gap between them, is that he and Fran Rader are going to be in the pits for 5 seconds longer than Mikel Mack. And the Lusit Racing Ferrari is bookending this battle. Mack trying to find a way past Juan Cruz Alvarez. Marco Ciocci just able to keep Andres Sarravia at bay now. And so whilst Mikael Mack is unlikely to come away from this afternoon with a huge points haul, although it's far from impossible at this stage, he and Alessandro Pierguidi are certainly looking as if they might be able to negate the challenge from Andres Sarravia and Fran Rueda, particularly as Sarravia is now coming under a fair level of pressure from Alex Frasinetti. Frasinetti draws alongside in the Ombra Lamborghini, side by side through Woodcup. Sarravia may have no option but to concede here because Frasinetti is going to have the track position as they head towards Copse Corner, side by side, not much between them. They turn through. And it's Frasinetti with the advantage up into 9th place. Sarravia drops down to 10th. There's now only a couple of cars between himself and Mikael Mack. This battle, by the way, all taking place about 21 seconds adrift of the race lead. Now here is the move that Marco Ciocci was able to make on Andres Sarravia, and it was exactly the same as the Frasinetti manoeuvre. Powering past through Luffield. So the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW of Andres Sarravia just losing a couple of places in the past couple of laps. There is Mikael Mack, the championship leader, still in 13th place, 23 seconds off the lead of the race, but no pit handicaps to contend with. The pit window not that far away from opening either. That opens in 6 minutes' time. So the race leader, Tom Onslow Cole, at the end of this lap, he's going to be the best part of 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field as he reels off the 9th lap of the race. He has been best part of a second lap quicker than Cadet throughout as the SPS Automotive team consult and consider on the pit wall. Fight for second powers through, and Kader, Cristani and Mull have just been able to drop the Bentley of Callum McLeod, who's now 2.2 seconds adrift of Jerome Mull. Now for Fabrizio Cristani and Miguel Ramos, this is a good opportunity for the Dico Lazarus team to notch up another Pro-Am class podium. And certainly keep Onslow Cole and Pierberg almost at arm's length in the battle for the Pro-Am Championship. Now David Perel, that pursuit of Riccardo Agostini, got it down to 2.9 seconds. So it's coming down fractionally lap on lap. 40 minutes left in the race. It's just out a little bit wide through still, really rather just out to the edge of the curbs there for Marco Ciocci. Alex Frasinetti pursuing him. Ciocci in 8th place. Full concentration. Was it racing pits? As Perel pursues Agostini. And through the first sector of the lap, David Perel taking a couple of tenths per second out of Riccardo Agostini, the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. He and Ranat Salikov, however, do have 5 additional seconds in the pits as a result of finishing 3rd in the Pro-Am class yesterday afternoon. So there's still a little bit of work for David Perel and Ranat Salikov to do if they want to get back onto the Pro-Am podium. They're currently the 5th of the Pro-Am combinations as well, behind Onslow Cole, Kader, Cristani and Callum McLeod. In the AM class, it's Darren Burke, who leads from Martin Conrad and then Giulio Borlenghi. Out of Luffield comes Riccardo Agostini, who's struggling to make substantial inroads into Callum McLeod in the Bentley. Sort of could get within about a second of him, but not an awful lot more than that. And another very good lap from David Perel, almost a second quicker than Riccardo Agostini on that occasion. So the fight for 5th, 6th and 7th just beginning to close up as well. Now, of the Pro-Am cars at the front of the field, we would expect most of them to be staying out until fairly deep into proceedings, whereas we'll probably anticipate that some of the Pro-Am cars towards the second half of the pack will be coming in a little bit earlier. Salam Kader and Fabrizio Cristani accelerate out of Stowe. Headlights ablaze through the heat haze. There is Jerome Mull, and Jerome Mull and Giovanni Venturini, they've got an additional 10 seconds in the pits, but the way that the field has split, that still keeps them, all things being equal, with a pit stop just ahead of the Marco Ciocci battle. So an opportunity here for Giovanni Venturini late on. The same for Rick Breukers when he takes over from Riccardo Agostini. That pairing also have an additional 10 seconds in the pits, so lots of strategic elements to watch for in the second phase of the race, because we are just a lap away now from the pit window opening. When they come round next time, they will be able to peel into the pits, get those pit stops started. So around Luffield, and this almost the phony war phase of the race, because the drivers, of course, are racing each other on the track, but they're also racing cars that they can't see at the moment, trying to anticipate strategies, trying to anticipate where, if they got pitted in now, where they'd feed out, as Riccardo Agostini suddenly right up with Callum McLeod within half a second of the Bentley. Just slithers a little bit wide. Meanwhile, Giulio Borlenghi and Ollie Wilkinson doing battle. Wilkinson kicking up a little bit of dust coming out of entry onto the Wellington straight. Oh, and a problem there for Giuseppe Cipriani. That's over at Brooklands. See exactly what happened. He's back into the fray. Giovanni Venturini clearly imminently to take over from Jerome Mull. What's going to be absolutely fascinating here is the likes of Giovanni Venturini in the second half of the race. By the time the pit stops are shaken through, will he be able to take, say, 25 seconds out of Valentin Pierberg over 12 laps or so? Meanwhile, Giulio Borlenghi and Ollie Wilkinson continuing to get into it. A little bit of Lamborghini left scattered on the circuit. The battle for second position winds through Abbey and Farm into Village on the brakes, down through the gears. The pit window opening in 10 seconds' time. Will anybody peel in on this occasion? Certainly not Onslow Cole, who leads by 11.5 seconds over Alam Kader. And for Valentin Pierberg, this is a great opportunity if he can really, you'd say, stay within about a second to 2 seconds lap of the pace of some of the pro combinations, then he's certainly within a shout of victory. Meanwhile, Mikel Max still all over the tail of Juan Cruz Alvarez as they pursue Darren Burt. This is the battle for 11th, 12th and 13th places. Just wonder if Mac may come into the pits to get out of traffic. Meanwhile, in is Riccardo Agostini's pass over to Rick Breukers, also in his Marco Ciocci, to hand his Lusit Racing Ferrari to Daniel Serra. Mikel Mackin for Alessandro Pierguidi, and Fran Rueda to take over from Andres Saravia in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. So we'll go early on in the pits. Now it's going to be fascinating to see who emerges from the pit lane first, the 51 Ferrari or the 47 Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. A few other pit stops further down the order. Bradley Ellis into the Optima Motorsport Audi, Kang Ling, likewise Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini. Those that haven't pitted in, many of them you'd expect to see going towards the end of the pit window, certainly including the car we're watching now, David Perel. So this gets strapped in to the Audi, the former British GT champion. Off the air jacks and on his way. Toby Sari also to take over from Giuseppe Cipriani. Cipriani stalks clear. Sari gets strapped into the Daiko Lazarus Huracan, the race leader. Meanwhile, Tom Onslow Cole, he doesn't need to pit in until there's 24 minutes left on the clock. And so the more that he can continue to stretch the field, the bigger the buffer that Valentin Pierberg is going to have for the second half of the race. Good battle lower down the order here between Daniele D'Amato in the RS Racing Ferrari, being pursued by Michele Rugolo in the Luzic Racing Ferrari, as Daniel Karvitz takes over from Steve Parrow in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Now, those that have emerged from the pit lane can tell you that Alessandro Pierguidi has come out of the pits ahead of Fran Rueda. So that, for Michael Mack, is very good news, because makes it that bit more likely that he will score more points than his main championship rival this afternoon. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega to take over from Juan Cruz Alvarez in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. It's a team very well supported in the paddock this weekend. Lots of guests, and also Martin Conrad to pass over at half distance to Alexander Traquina. HTP Motorsport MS Racing, Mercedes to a halt, door open on the air jacks. The team's always practicing these pit routines throughout the course of the season, making sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. So thundering on his way, Onslow Cole, 12.5 seconds now, his advantage over Alam Kader. And also all going in the Pirelli Racing pits as Raffaele Gianmaria takes over from Jiatong Liang. Now the question being, at what point Jerome Mole heads in to pass over to Giovanni Venturini. Judging by Venturini being on the pit apron, I'd suggest that it's probably going to be on this occasion. So this is to complete the 14th lap of the race. Of those that have pitted, it is looking like it's Rick Breukers who is the foremost of them on the track, ahead of Alessandro Pierguidi, who's 2.7 seconds adrift of Breukers, and then Fran Rueda, who's a further 2.9 seconds adrift of Pierguidi, with the sister BMW from the Teo Martin squad of Lorenzo Beirao de Viega just behind Fran Rueda. As into the pit lane now comes Jerome Mole. Giovanni Venturini waiting to take over from him as they pop the door on the Lamborghini onto the air jacks. Also in Alex Frasinetti, Damiano Fioravanti and David Perel to Rinat Salakov. So all go in the pit lane. Got one warning flag to Fabrizio Crestani for track limits. Onslow Cole, 13.1 seconds now his advantage as he pursues Bradley Ellis. Finally, Constantini takes over from Alberto Di Folco in the Target Lamborghini. So as expected, several of the Pro-Am combinations staying out reasonably deep into the race. Now, the question's going to be, of the Pirelli Racing Lamborghini Huracans, who is going to emerge to the fore, Giovanni Venturini or Rick Breukers? The suggestion would be it's going to be Venturini, who indeed has just left the pit lane. Breukers has just come past us as well, so we'll see in about 30 seconds' time at the end of the first sector who is where. Onslow Cole going round for at least one more lap. And here, then, is the battle of those that have pitted, and it is Giovanni Venturini ahead of Damiano Fioravanti. Then it is Rick Breukers with Rinat Salakov, and then in pursuit, Alessandro Pierguidi. So we've got potentially a great second half of the race in the hands, because we've got all these group of 3 Pro Lamborghinis, then the Pro-Am Ferrari of Salakov, the All-Pro Lusit Racing Ferrari in the hands of Alessandro Pierguidi, and they are going to be pursuing Valentin Pierberg, Marcello Hahn, Miguel Ramos and Ian Loggy. So this is going to be well worth watching. Kaka Bueno peels into the pits, hand over to Ricardo Baptista. We're just over half race distance. Drivex team get to work with the all-Brazilian pairing. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how this race plays out, as Alessandro Pierguidi's made the move on Rinat Salakov, so Pierguidi, that's one more place gained. And that puts him, of those that have pitted, fourth. So Valentin Pierberg getting instructions. Now, the other thing that's interesting here is that on fresh tyres, fresh drivers, the likes of Rick Broikers and Alessandro Pierguidi, they're just a couple of tenths of a second quicker at the moment than Tom Onslow Cole. So across the line, this train of cars headed by Giovanni Venturini. 11th place overall is Venturini. Now he's 90 seconds off the race leader Onslow Cole. It's a minimum 70-second pit stop, so on that reckoning, Valentin Pierberg should emerge with plus or minus a 20-second advantage. There is Fran Rueda, Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, struggling to stay with the trio of Lamborghinis. And Venturini pushing really hard, because every second gained here is just the opportunity to pile a little bit of pressure onto Valentin Pierberg and Miguel Ramos, and Marcello Hahn as Cristani is into the pit lane in the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan to pass over to Miguel Ramos, also Callum McLeod. Handing the Bentley over to Ian Loggy, so the Team Parker Racing squad await Callum McLeod. Comes to a stop. Mechanics get to work, the driver change is underway. And Onslow Cole, I think, is going to have to come in at the end of this lap, as Daniel Diamato. Also to the pits for Andrea Montermini. Not been the easiest weekend this for the RS Racing team. And Alexei Chuklin as well to pass over to Marcio Basso in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. So the last round of pit stops should be coming into play at the end of this lap, and then we're really going to have a sense of what the order is likely to be as Fran Rueda pursues Rinat Salakov. Heading out onto the 17th lap of the race. Through Copse Corner. Fran Rueda would like to try and clear the Ferrari as quickly as he possibly can. The challenge being in multi-mark racing is that the points on the circuit where the BMW is strongest aren't necessarily the ones where he can overhaul the Ferrari. As in car now with Onslow Cole into the pit lane, down to the 60 km/h pit lane speed limit. It's a long run down the pit lane towards the SPS Automotive pit box. They're waiting for Onslow Cole is Valentin Pierberg. So Pierberg into the car. Also in is Alan Coder for Marcello Hahn. So pit stop, final few pit stops being completed. We're also waiting for Darren Burke and Michele Rugolo to come in. Burke is in now to pass over to Miro Konopka in the AM race. Alex West to take over from Michele Rugolo in the Lusit Racing Ferrari. So of those that have pitted, it's Ian Loggy who is the foremost, or was. He's only 3/10 clear of Giovanni Venturini. As here is Daniel Serra looking to make the move on Ricardo Baptista, as now Valentin Pierberg heads out of the pit lane. Can get on the power now as he accelerates on towards Beckett. So it's going to be the end of this first sector where we get a sense of the gaps. But what is not in dispute is that Valentin Pierberg in the SPS Automotive Mercedes leads the way. Giovanni Venturini is yet to come past us. He does now to complete the lap. So there's Venturini with Damiano Fioravanti in pursuit. Meanwhile, Miguel Ramos side by side with Ian Loggy, and Ramos secures the position. So that elevates Ramos to, I think, third or fourth rather, in the Pro-Am class. I think it will depend on where Alex West is. Oh, and a big sideways moment there for Rick Broikers, and that is going to allow Alessandro Pierguidi through. Indeed it does. So Pierguidi gains the place. In terms of the order then, it's Valentin Pierberg, who is 10.6 seconds clear of Marcello Hahn, with Giovanni Venturini in third, and he's 23 seconds back from the race leader. There's 23 minutes left in the race, so a second a minute for Venturini will get him onto terms with Valentin Pierberg to challenge for the victory. And as Venturini surges through, he's going to have Damiano Fioravanti, Alessandro Pierguidi, Rick Broikers all in pursuit. In the Pro-Am class is Miguel Ramos, who's third in the class. And that, meanwhile, a tag on Daniel Serra from Riccardo Baptista. Pumps Serra down the order. Another look at it. And just a misjudgment of braking there, I think, from Baptista. Rotates his compatriot. Here's how it felt for Daniel Serra. Thump, and around he goes. Immediately getting the car into gear and ready to go. Now Ian Loggy under a little bit of pressure from Fran Rueda. Rueda will be hoping, if he can, to move clear of the Team Parker Racing Bentley. Get back up into point situation. There's a little bit of a look to the inside of Loggy through Luffield. Oh, there's not quite enough space there, but Fran Rueda is trying to create it. Loggy then shuts the door again, fairly abruptly in the face of the BMW. Fran Rueda looking every which way to get through. Meanwhile, Giovanni Venturini now just 21.5 seconds back from Valentin Pierberg, 11 seconds back from Marcello Hahn, so it really is game on. With this group of cars all chasing the race leaders. Flash the headlights from Fran Rueda, hoping to find a way around Ian Loggy if he possibly can, which he does at Beckett's. And as Loggy looks to pick up the pace through Chapel Curve, that might give Renat Salakov the opportunity to challenge as well. Down the hanger straight, Venturini 0.4 of a second quicker than Pierberg and Hahn through the first sector alone. Now this is a fascinating chase for the outright race win. Pierberg has got a good buffer, but Venturini, the chance for first victory of the season, more importantly the chance to net a good number of championship points. As he moves forward, he's going to bring Fioravanti and Pierguidi with him. Here's another look then at the move. Fran Rueda determined to make it happen. Goes up into 8th place. Meanwhile, Daniel Karlvitz on Andrei Lewandowski. This is the fight for 23rd position. And Karlvitz and the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari finding a way through. Back in car with Daniel Serra. It's in pursuit of Kang Ling. And then Riccardo Baptista. He with the nudge a couple of laps ago. You don't really know where to watch here. Miro Konopka as well. Oh, and Ling to the inside of Baptista. Every sort of angle through the loop. And they're all closing up on each other. Daniel Serra just doing a good job here of keeping his nose clean, letting the battle in front of him unfold. Down the hanger straight. Cars thunder through the sunshine. As we approach 2/3 race distance. 20 minutes to go. At the end of that last lap, Valentin Pierberg at 2 minutes 2.9. Giovanni Venturini at 2 minutes 1.3. So he's 1.6 seconds quicker than Pierberg as Ling draws alongside, or attempts to draw alongside, Riccardo Baptista as they head towards Copse Corner. Neither driver wants to concede. Eventually, though, Baptista has to just get on the anchors, and that's going to give Daniel Serra the chance to challenge. Is it as they turn into Beckett. Yes, it does. And Serra leaps through. Their next target being Miro Konopka, the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini. And Ling may well be able to squeeze past here as they head towards Stowe Corner, just carrying a little bit more through Chapel Curve. Indeed he does, but Konopka, fairly dominant leader at the moment in the AM class, some way clear of Alexei Chuklin. And we've lost Alexander Hakwina as well from the AM running, who's returned back to the pit lane. In car with Daniel Serra. Now, is he going to be able to make the move on Konopka? Not necessarily into Abbey or Farm, but possibly Village. As Konopka hurtles into Abbey, he's going to run wide here. Gathers it up through Farm. And almost it's a case of pick your spot here for Daniel Serra. As Konopka defends into Village. Serra forced to the outside track here through the loop. Then gets on the power a little bit earlier, and around the Lamborghini he goes. So Daniel Serra moves up into 16th place. The front of the field, Valentin Peerberg, last time around, by the way, 2 minutes 2.2, playing a 2 minutes 1.4 for Giovanni Venturini. So Venturini, oh, and a problem there, and it's Rinat Salakov who's had a coming together. And I expect that's with Fran Rueda. Or is it Lorenzo Beirao de Viega? I think it's Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. There's the move from Daniel Serra. And Salakov just spinning Beirao around, and then Salakov ending up in the gravel as well. Now let's hope neither car is stuck, because if they are, that is almost certainly going to bring out the safety car, which will really put the cat amongst the pigeons for the closing stages of the race. Still a yellow flag over at turn 17, which is Luffield, as Bradley Ellis now looking to line up the move. Green flag now over at Luffield, so Lorenzo Beirao de Viega mobile, albeit only as far as the pit lane. He's having another difficult campaign, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. Seems to be that if there's any bad luck going round, he is more often than not the recipient of it. So fortunately no safety car. In terms of the battles at the front of the field, Alessandro Pierguidi's right up behind Damiano Fioravanti in the fight for 4th and 5th. Fioravanti in 4th, then 2.5 seconds back from Giovanni Venturini. Here is the race leader, Valentin Pierbo. Pierbo, that last lap, a 2 minute 2.5. He and Onslow Cole, they came very close to victory in race 1 in the Hungaro Ring. The lead for Pierberg over Marcello Hahn is 10.8 seconds, and then Giovanni Venturini is only 0.6 of a second a lap quicker at the moment than both Pierberg and Hahn, and that is not going to be enough for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini driver. We've got a 10-second penalty for Riccardo Baptista for causing a collision for that contact with Daniel Serra. Now here then is Giovanni Venturini, and with 15 minutes to go, that is between 7 or 8 laps, depending, and he really needs to be closing at a rate of some 2 seconds lap, and that is not happening at the moment. Mind you, there is a 4-second time penalty now for Marcello Hahn for the pit handicap not being fully followed, so Marcello Hahn picking up a penalty as well. So that means that if Venturini can get to within 4 seconds of Hahn, then that would automatically elevate him up to 2nd position. And at the moment, Venturini is only 7.4 seconds adrift of Marcello Hahn, and that feels like something that is eminently doable for Giovanni Venturini. Meanwhile, here comes Andrea Montermini alongside Ian Loggy. This is the fight for 9th and 10th, and through goes the Italian. And Loggy currently 4th in the Pro-Am class. But but slipping adrift of Miguel Ramos, who's currently rounding out the Pro-Am podium behind Pierre Berg and Marcello Hahn. The AM class still Miro Konopka from Alexei Chuklin and Andrei Lewandowski. Just 14 minutes left on the clock. 2 minute 2.7 last time for Valentin Pierre Berg. 2 minutes 1.2 for Giovanni Venturini. That's a little bit more like it for Venturini. He gets the gap from first to second down to 17 seconds. It's Callum McLeod on the left-hand side of your picture, watching the progress of the Bentley as Damiano Fioravanti having a wild ride on the Exeter Luffield. So it is all go at the moment. Here comes Venturini then, in pursuit of Marcello Hahn. Then this battle behind between Fioravanti, Alessandro Pierguidi and Rick Breukers. Now, crucially, Pierguidi's up into fifth. He might get more than that as gaps close down late on, and that means that Mikkel Mack is going to add a couple of points to his championship tally. Crucially, at the moment, he's going to finish at least 2 places clear of Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia. We've got another handicap penalty. That is for Stefano Constantini, as a frustrated Lorenzo Beraldiviega walks away from the car, forced into retirement. After that, coming together with Rinat Salikov. Fioravanti under pressure from Alessandro Pierguidi. Meanwhile, Toby Sowry looking to line up a pass on Rinat Salikov. And this is for 17th and 18th place. Sowry looking to the inside line into Vale. Not quite on there. And Salikov just able to, he's maybe a little bit tight on the way through Vale. It leaves the door open into Club. He's able to swing through with the momentum. In the background, Miro Konopka still the AM class leader, although giving away time a little bit to Alexei Chuklin. That last lap just completed from the race leaders. They've come past us. Again, Giovanni Venturini 1.5 seconds quicker than Valentin Pierre Berg. So he's now 15 seconds adrift. Meanwhile, Bradley Ellis to the inside of Ricardo Baptista. Not sure they quite gave each other enough space there. A little bit of side-to-side contact. And Marcello Hahn, his advantage over Giovanni Venturini now just 4.7 seconds on track. Don't forget, though, that the Drovex Mercedes has got a 4-second penalty, so Venturini is about to drive himself into an adjusted second place, even though he's not with Hahn on the road. Venturini 15 seconds back from the race leader, Valentin Pierre Berg. Damiano Fioravanti, Alessandro Pierguidi continuing to battle. They're also battling about a second lap quicker than Marcello Hahn, as we go back in car with Daniel Serra, who remains in this tussle with Kang Ling. Not able to find a way past him just at the moment as they come through Stowe. On the brakes into Vale and then Club. And then out of Club Corner en route to Abbey and Farm. 10 minutes left on the race clock. And this is the fight for 13th and 14th. Neither driver looking that likely to get into the points. Meanwhile, Giovanni Venturini now just 3.6 seconds back from Marcello Hahn. All the while closing in. So lots of different tussles just to keep tabs on. And here, finally, the move from Toby Sowry on Rinat Salikov to the inside at Vale. He was lining up for it a lap ago. This time, he's able to put the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini to the inside and through. So Fioravanti, Pier Guidi and Rick Breukers continue to fly in formation. Fioravanti having just set his personal best lap of the race last time round. And as happened yesterday, the Lamborghini's really able to sustain their pace as we get deeper into the race, with both Fioravanti and Venturini running in the 2-minute 1.1 second bracket. With the exception of Fran Rueda, nobody else able to quite match that at the moment. There is Fran Rueda in the background. Fioravanti absorbing the pressure here from Alessandro Pier Guidi. That's because there's a good chance here of a third-place finish on the cards for Fioravanti. He just needs to get another 3 seconds or so closer to Marcello Hahn. Meanwhile, Giovanni Venturini now 2.9 seconds back from Marcello Hahn. So we wait for Valentin Pierbo to come past us to complete the 25th lap of the race. 8 minutes remaining. And it's getting to the point where the SPS Automotive team will be very glad to see the last lap ball going out, as Pierbo's come past us. So 2 minutes 2.6 for Valentin Pierbo. So a slight elevation of pace for him once more, particularly as Venturini could only offer a 2 minutes 1.4. So a 1.2 second gain for Giovanni Venturini. Damiano Fioravanti is 6.3 seconds back from Marcello Hahn. Another 2.3 seconds closer to the Mercedes, and that is going to elevate the fight we're watching now into the one for third position once Hahn's penalty is applied. So therefore, Fioravanti absolutely no incentive whatsoever to move aside, as Venturini getting ever closer to Hahn, but not quite yet in a position to be totally decisive. Sandro Pier Guidi, Mick Mack, if they can finish this race on the podium from 19th on the grid, that really will be quite remarkable. But this is the challenge here for Pier Guidi. He is ready to make the move the second the opening presents itself, but also doesn't want to unnecessarily risk the car, as Alex West does battle with one of the Vincenzo Spiri Racing Lamborghinis. Here's the fight between Fioravanti and Pier Guidi. Alessandro Pier Guidi just beginning to turn the heat up a little bit on Damiano Fioravanti. Half the field more or less seems to be picking up track limit warnings, as now Venturini just 1.5 seconds back from Marcello Hahn. Fioravanti about a second closer to Hahn than he was a lap ago. It's Valentin Pierberg across the line. I think Pierberg, in terms of timings here, this could work out absolutely perfectly for him, because he's either going to cross the line with the clock having just ticked to 0, or will have to do an extra lap with just 2 or 3 seconds to spare. So that is also something the team are going to be keeping an eye on. Obviously, they'll be very much hoping it's the latter. Fioravanti and Pier Guidi continue to run nose to tail. The deficit to Marcello Hahn is 5.5 seconds on the road. So another 1.5 seconds gained for Fioravanti, and he will virtually be ahead of the Mercedes. He gains a little bit of it through the first sector on the lap. But as we now have just 5 minutes to go, this is looking increasingly like it's going to be a lights to flag victory for the SPS Automotive team, with Thomas Local having split the field early on. Valentin Pierberg lapping consistently in the mid 2 minute 2 second bracket for the second half of the race. This fight behind Fioravanti closing up nicely, as Marcello Hahn has got Giovanni Venturini looming ever larger in his mirrors. Now Venturini will be told, I'm sure, on the radio that he doesn't need to try and physically pass Marcello Hahn on the road because of that 4-second penalty for the pit handicap. So essentially Venturini just needs to stay underneath his rear wing, and as long as he's not then backed up into the Fioravanti battle, then that's pretty much a case of job done for Giovanni Venturini. We've got more team managers summoned to race control. Stefano Constantini and Raffaele Gianmaria. Across the line between Hahn and Venturini. Gap on the road between them, 0.6 of a second. And here is Fioravanti. And for my money, next time around, Damiano Fioravanti, once we get onto adjusted time, is going to be up into that 3rd place. Meanwhile, Valentin Pierberg will be about on the cusp of starting the final lap of the race as well when he comes through next time around. There is Pierberg in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, the Drovex Mercedes then of Marcello Hahn. Headlights ablaze. Looking very good though for 2nd place in the Pro-Am class, with Miguel Ramos, Fabrizio Cristani seeming set for 3rd in class. So through the Vale, Venturini now right in the wheel tracks at Marcello Hahn. He might be close enough to have a little bit of a look into Vale on this occasion. Well, not Vale, rather into Village, as they come through Albion Farm. So if Pierberg crosses the line with... Well, he can afford to back off as well, Valentin Pierberg, but essentially 2 minutes and 2 seconds left on the clock, then we'll be into the last lap of the race. But with a fairly big buffer, 8 or 9 seconds to play with, Valentin Pierberg could just about afford to back off as well to make this the last lap of the race. It's going to be very much touch and go if he does. As the clock ticks down, Pierberg has not passed us yet. 6, 5, 4, 3, pretty much 2 minutes 2 exactly. So I think this will just about be the last lap of the race, as Valentin Pierberg's got enough of a buffer to be able to afford to back it off. Damiano Fioravanti by 1/10 of a second on adjusted time would appear to have moved up to 3rd, as Ian Loggy has a huge spin over at Abbey. Team Parker Racing Bentley just getting away from Loggy. So here is Valentin Pierberg down the hanger straight. Oh, and Hahn kicks up the dust in the Exeter Chapel. Nothing, though, that Giovanni Venturini can do to take advantage of it. And again, a little bit of dust kicked up from Hahn through Stowe. Is this going to be the last lap of the race? That is a big question, as Alessandro Pierguidi running out of options now to try and overhaul Damiano Fioravanti. Venturini right with Hahn, flashes his headlights, looking to try and make the move. This is the 29th lap of the race. Alain Cadet passing on instruction. Oh, and Hahn runs out very, very wide, going through Farm, and that elevates Giovanni Venturini. Oh, and what's happened there for Marcello Hahn? I fear something has gone pop on the Mercedes, because he rejoins, but he's some way down as Valentin Pierberg heads into Brooklands. 20 seconds left on the clock. He can afford pretty much to coast it. 12 seconds. Doesn't need to get on the power here. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3. And he's not quite done it. He goes into the last lap of the race with 1 second to spare. And I'm not sure whether Pierberg had instruction to back off, if the team just wanted him to keep focusing. Either way, he's got one more tour of the circuit to undertake. So Valentin Pierberg now for the 30th and final time on to the hanger straight. his advantage over Giovanni Venturini, 8.1 seconds. That isn't going to come down on the final lap of the race as Marcello Hahn is into the pits, and just wonder what the problem there is for Hahn. Looks like something has broken on the Mercedes, unfortunately. And so that elevates Stefano Constantini and Alberto Di Folco up to third in the Pro-Am class. So all sorts of late drama, none of which is of any concern to Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole. They are going to look to take victory in the race overall, victory in the Pro-Am class as well. Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull heading for their second runners-up finish of the weekend, with Damiano Fioravanti and Alex Frassonetti back on to the podium in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini, as out of Aintree down the Wellington Straight then for the final time for Valentin Pierberg. Meanwhile, in the AM class, Miro Konopka has got Andrei Lewandowski right on his tail, so we might yet see a change for the AM podium as Valentin Pierberg heads through Luffield for the final time. The SPS Automotive Mercedes has led from lights to flag at Silverstone, and it's going to be victory for Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole as he takes the checkered flag. The teams celebrate over the top of the pit wall, with second place to Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini, and third to the Ombra Racing team of Damiano Fioravanti and Alex Frassonetti, with Alessandro Pierguidi and Michael Mack home in fourth from 19th on the grid, ahead of Rick Broikers and Riccardo Agostini. Here is Miguel Ramos, who's going to finish second in the Pro-Am class, alongside Fabrizio Cristani. Now, what of the AM class battle? It has all changed because Andrei Lewandowski now leads it from Alexei Chuklin. The Miro Konopka has had a nightmare on this last lap and has clearly had a big spin somewhere, as Kang Ling fends off Bradley Ellis. Onslow Cole congratulates and thanks the team. So through Stowe Franz for Valentin Pierberg. He celebrates on the way back to the pits as we're waiting for the AM class winners to come across the line, take the checkered flag. And it is Andrei Lewandowski who wins it from Alexei Chuklin. So an enthralling race once more here at Silverstone in the International GT Open. Our second Pro-Am outright race winner of the season, Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole. And this their second season in the championship, and really with each and every outing they have been ever more competitive in terms of the overall result. So a look then at the final classification. Pierberg and Onslow Cole taking the victory and the fastest lap. Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull runners up once more, ahead of Alex Frassonetti and Damiano Fioravanti, who complete the podium. Alessandro Pierguidi and Michael Mack fourth from 19th on the grid, ahead of Riccardo Agostini and Rick Broikers. Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia home in sixth, ahead of Daniele Diamato and Andrea Montermini. Fabrizio Cristani and Miguel Ramos second on the Pro-Am podium, ahead of Alberto Di Folco and Stefano Constantini, with Marco Ciocci and Daniel Serra completing the top 10, ahead of Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling, Alex West and Michele Rugolo, Bradley Ellis and Ollie Wilkinson, Ian Loggy and Callum McLeod after that late spin. Giulio Borlengo and Andrei Lewandowski winning the AM class again, just ahead of Alexei Chuklin, with then Miro Konopka and Darren Burke fading late on to third in the class. Unfortunately, Marcello Hahn Cadet, we lost them late on. Others we lost earlier in the race. In terms of the championship then, it's a 9-point buffer that Michael Back carries into Monza, with then Giovanni Venturini, Jerome Mull closing ground. They're only 14 points now for the championship lead. So Venturini and Mull shake hands. Celebrate the performance. The same for the Ombra Racing team. Frassonetti and Fioravanti, but a superb drive from Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole. Two very, very happy drivers for the winning team. Oh, Pierberg thoroughly enjoys that. Onslow-Cole congratulating Valentin Pierberg. They utterly dominated the race. And after Tom Onslow-Cole put together a scintillating drive early on, it was then the drive from Valentin Pierberg, the second half of the race, to maintain that pace. Big grin from Damiano Fioravanti, having held off Alessandro Pierguidi throughout the closing third of the race. So lots of congratulations all around in Parc Fermé, and with very good reason. Driver's got to weigh in, and then we'll have a word from our winning pairing.
Yeah, team photo. Take off your...
So drivers getting ready to pose for photographs. Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Moll, a good weekend's work for them. They've not quite had an outright race victory this season, but 14 points off the championship lead with 4 races to go. And they are going to be in the hunt surely as we head on to Monza.
Valentin Pierberg, Tom Onslow-Cole, fantastic victory here at Silverstone in a beautiful day. Tom, first stint was a matter of pulling away, right?
Yeah, like it was very comfortable. Like I wish it was all like this. You know, at my home race, I've got a lot of friends and family and sponsors here, and I made it not look like so much of a challenge. You know, I tell them throughout the year how hard it is, but I really have to put this down to SPS. You know, the car we had today was really faultless. It was so fast, and we used that to get a good advantage in the first stint.
Good. And Valentin's second stint was tough, but everything under control.
It was tough. I was pushing as hard as I could. And, you know, after yesterday, we had an unlucky day, got a hit, and I feel great now that we made first place, and I'm extremely grateful for the team, and we had a supercar. Thank you to the engineers. Amazing.
And I'm sure you feel extremely good.
I do indeed. Thank you.
Podium, guys. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So as the lights went out, it was Onslow-Cole who leapt into the early advantage ahead of Alain Cadet and Fabrizio Crestani as the field swept through Copse Corner for the first time. It was very busy, a little bit lower down the order as Marco Ciocci was busy battling for room alongside Darren Burke. But Onslow-Cole, with clear track in front of him, was able to try and break clear of the fields in the background. Giton Liang having a huge spin out of Chapel Curve. Marco Ciocci and David Perel enjoyed a good scrap in their Ferraris as Alex Frasinetti was also able to move clear of Andres Saravia in the early stages. Ollie Wilkinson, Giulio Borlenghi getting a little bit too close for comfort as the pair of them made contact through Luffield. Post-pit stops, Daniel Serra was busy charging up through the order, although he got a little bit too close for comfort with Riccardo Baptista. That bump costing Baptista a penalty. Logie, another driver, had his work cut out in the second half of the race. Fran Raider was able to overhaul him. Meanwhile, coming together between Lorenzo Beirao de Viega and Rinat Salakov, pitching Beirao de Viega out of the race. So it was a lights to flag win for Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole and the SPS Automotive team, with Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Moll finishing as runners-up ahead of Damiano Fioravanti and Alex Frasinetti. Chance for the SPS Automotive team to celebrate as the championship fight coming together very well with just 4 races to go. So applause onto the podium for 3rd place, Fioravanti and Frasinetti. Runners-up once more, Jerome Moll and Giovanni Venturini. Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole to the top step of the podium in Silverstone. And SPS Automotive, their first outright race victory with this pairing. GT Open. So the German national anthem for the SPS Automotive team. As we move on to the presentation of the trophies, we're next in action in the International GT Open on the 22nd and 23rd of September at the Cathedral of Speed in Monza. Always one of the most spectacular weekends of the season, particularly as we will have just 4 races to go in the 2018 campaign to decide the destination of the championship crown. Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Moll just 15 points back. They are still very much in the mix with 60 points to race for. Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole celebrating on the top step of the podium in Silverstone. Absolutely perfect performance for them this afternoon. Trophies hoisted aloft. Happy drivers, happy team. Photos complete. Time to celebrate with the bubbly. Some of them running away. Not Pierberg and Onslow-Cole. They'll celebrate. We will say thank you for joining us in Silverstone this weekend. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time as the season continues in Monza.
Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole.
Onto the Pro-Am class podium then with 3rd place to Alberto Di Folco and Stefano Constantini. Runners-up Fabrizio Cristani and Miguel Ramos. And Pro-Am class winners again, Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole.
Alberto Di Folco and Stefano Constantini, car number 19.
So handshakes all around.
Great job. 2nd place trophies is Alex Cobol from Michelin Competition, presenting to the number 20. I'll get attacked by a wasp. Number 27.
Cristani and Ramos receiving their runners-up trophies.
Presenting the winner's trophy though, it's Esther Alvarez from
And
Michelin Competition.
Pierberg and Onslow-Cole.
Valentin Pierberg and Tom.
Race winners, Pro-Am class winners. Fastest lap and pole position, pretty much the complete clean sweep here at Silverstone today for them, and the Pro-Am Championship battle is another one that is going to go all the way to the wire. Circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya in the middle of October.
So feel free, grab your bottles and spray the champagne.
Next stop though, of course, Monza. And the Pro-Am drivers all determined to celebrate on the podium. Miguel Ramos, somewhat stuck with his bottle of bubbly. The drivers clinking glasses in an act of sportsmanship, and a stealthy performance this from Constantini and Alberto Di Folco. We didn't really see much of them during the race, but they emerged through to third in class after the late retirement of Marcello Hahn. Ramos and Cristani have been remarkably consistent all year. And for Pierberg and Onslow Cole, this a day to remember. And we move on to the last podium, which is for the AM class, with in third place Miro Konopka and Darren Burt. The last lap for Konopka, something of a nightmare, clearly having a spin somewhere along the way. But nonetheless, 2 trips to the podium for Burke and Konopka this weekend. Runners-up, Teo Marti, Motorsport BMW of Alexei Chuklin. I think went the whole distance single-handedly today. And then the winners in the AM class, Andrei Lewandowski and Giulio Borlenghi. So a great weekend again for the Vincenzo Spiri Racing pairing. And they continue to tighten their stranglehold on the AM Championship, particularly with the retirement of Aquina and Conrad more or less at mid-race distance. So Konopka and Burke, maybe not quite the result that they hoped they were going to get this morning.
Second place from Chris Smith, Michelin sales manager for the UK.
Alexei Chuklin receiving the runners-up trophy to the cheers of the Teo Marti Motorsport team. And Borlenghi and Lewandowski, double winners in the AM class this weekend here at Silverstone. So we are back in action on the 22nd and 23rd of September in Monza. Promises to be another excellent weekend of racing in the International GT Open. Thank you very much for joining us at Silverstone this weekend. We'll see you next time.
Now feel free to spray the champagne.